This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Welcome to another episode of Your Call, presented by the Headset app. On today's episode, we're diving into offensive innovation with Coach Aaron Chantler, head coach at Auburn High School in Washington. Coach Chantler shares how a midseason personnel change led to elite offensive evolution. What started as a response to a depleted running back room has grown into a full-blown identity centered around empty formations and a philosophy they now call quads for life. You'll hear how Auburn High School's turned traditional thinking on its head, designing a dynamic, balanced attack, even with undersized linemen. If you've ever hesitated to lean into empty because of protection worries or personnel mismatches, this episode will give you a new perspective. Before Coach Chantler gets into it, let's hear from our partner, the Headset app.
The Headset app. Communication platform for coaches that makes sense. After all the technology we need is already in our pocket. No more time-consuming setup, lugging around cases, storing equipment, worrying about range, or finding the right location for your base station. The Headset app is an encrypted voice platform that is compatible with any Bluetooth headset or earbuds. The Headset app is a more secure, reliable, and easy-to-use communication system, delivered at just a fraction of the cost. Just open the app, put in your headphones, and go. At practice, on game day, or whenever. The Headset app. Download in the App Store or on Google Play today.
Hi, everybody. My name is Aaron Chantler. I'm the head football coach at Auburn High School in Auburn, Washington. I've been a head football coach for 13 years now, a football coach at the high school setting for 20 years. Been at 2 different places as a head football coach, and thought I would hop on today to talk to you a little bit about kind of a change we made a couple years ago offensively that really kind of opened up our offense and has given us a little bit more multiplicity that we can do some different things out of. So I'll give a little bit of background as to where our offense has kind of come from and grown to and where it is now. When I first started out as a head coach, wanted to be a spread team, a lot of 2x2, 3x1, and run RPO, kind of the normal stuff, really was influenced by what Chip Kelly was doing at Oregon. So we were very, very up tempo, a lot of inside zone, outside zone, but then we'd also read power and read counter, and we'd run some inverted veer stuff off of jet action. And I feel like every spread coach has an empty wrinkle, right? We're going to run a little bit of empty here, but it's only a change up, right? We'll run a couple snaps and see what they do. We'll line up in 3x2 or 4x1 and we'll just kind of see how it goes. And that's what we did, for 5 years at Gig Harbor High School. We did that. We're very, very successful doing that, and then moved on to Auburn High School and kind of brought the same offense going, we'll say 2x2, 3x1, and then we'll sprinkle in the empty stuff, right? And mostly that empty was 3x2, right? And when you go empty, as a spread team, as most of you probably do, you become a heavy pass team, and you're like, well, we're going to sit in empty and we're going to look for leverage. We're going to look for mismatches and see, where can we throw a quick screen? Where can we throw a hitch slant and out, get the ball out of our hands quickly because we know we're going to see pressure. And so my first year at Auburn, it was a very big philosophical change in terms of the schematics. I took over from my father-in-law, who's more of a defensive guy. He's actually still with me as my defensive coordinator, but he was a wing T guy. And so I came in as a spread guy, and that was a very big change, for the kids. Because they were wing T, they were used to having multiple, ball carriers, obviously. You got your slots carrying the ball, and occasionally you have a tailback. He called it a B back, and the quarterback would carry the ball quite a bit. So he was used to having 4 or 5 kids carry the ball. But when I came in spread, it's like, we're still running options. We want our quarterback to carry the ball, and our slots will carry the ball, but we need a tailback. We need a downhill a kid that can put his foot in the ground so we can run power and counter, a kid that can run inside outside zone. We were a pistol set team, and we had 1.5 kids in the program that could do that. At half is always interesting. We had a young kid that could kind of do it sometimes, but needed some growth. And so we are, I think, 7 games into the season, and the younger kid, the half, comes to me and goes, "Coach, we're moving to another city." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like, that sucks, but let's finish the season strong." He goes, No, I'm moving tomorrow." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." This kid was essentially kind of our starting tailback. He was more of our scat back zone runner, while we had another kid that was kind of more of the downhill thumper for the power and counter stuff. And so that kind of threw chaos into our program, because, we're not used to losing a kid, week 7 in a day, right? Starter on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, gone. And it was like, whoa, totally out of nowhere. And then the thumper kid got banged up, like, in practice that week. So we're looking at it going into a game with nobody being able to play running back at the varsity level. And we're going, okay, we either put a JV, C team type of kid in the lineup who's probably not ready and this probably won't go well, or we've got to get one of our backup receivers on the field. But they're not a tailback, they're a receiver. And we played around, had empty sets, and said, we just need to go empty. And my assistant coaches were like, there's no way. We can't do this. We can't do this every snap. We have not had, in the 7 years, going on 8 years I've been at Auburn, we have had one O-line that looks like a traditional O-line, 1 through 5. And typically we have 1 or 2. We have a couple of kids that play really hard. They're 185 pounds rather than 285 pounds. And so we're like, we can't live in empty, because we know we're going to get pressure, and our linemen aren't built to withstand that with no help, like no help from a back, no chip, no anything. And we've got to get the quarterback protected so he can get the ball out. But we didn't have a choice. We said, we're going to go empty. And so the last 3 games this season, we went exclusively empty, but that was all 3x2. Because that was what was simple for the kids. We go, okay, that year was a rebuilding year. We weren't very successful on the field. We were trying to establish what we were doing. But what we realized when we would go in this empty set, pretty obviously, is defenses thought we were going to throw every snap. And so they widened out. And we said, okay, well, now we actually have the ability to run the football, but how do we do that? We don't have a back here. And so we said, okay, well, one, we already have our quarterback run game, but that was always with a mesh. How can we capture that without a back in the backfield? How can we make we already run jet from our slots. How can we make everything look like jet, even though it's not jet? Even though we've got 5 different plays with 5 different reads and different blocking schemes, but to the defense, it all looks like jet. It's all, motion across, read somebody, quarterback keeps it, or we're getting out on the perimeter. And so moving into the next season, we said, okay, we're not only going to go empty, but we got to get out of 3x2. We got to go 4x1, right? Which was kind of, a whole, so that again, this was, 7 years ago now, 6 years ago now. So not everybody was living in quads all the time. And so we kind of joked and developed a tagline in our program of quads for life, and said, we're just going to live in quads, and we're going to go quads open, which was for us a stacked alignment with 4 receivers out on the numbers. And we would go quads closed, which was more of a bunch alignment with 4 receivers. And then we'd still sprinkle in the 3x2, and we can still run our run game out of this empty look. And now it just gives every player a chance to touch the ball. Like, we don't have receivers anymore and a running back. We just have 5 kids that play out wide. And if they're flexed off the ball, they're a ball carrier. And so we started doing that. Again, that was 5 to 6 years ago now. And while we still weren't very big up front, what we noticed is we were starting to have more success in the run game, because defenses had widened out. And so we have to take care of the passing game. But when we would motion in, they couldn't necessarily follow what we were doing with motion, because they had to still account for the fact that there are still 4 guys out there, or 3 guys on one side of the field out there. And if we, shuffle in or follow in too far, then we're outnumbered on the perimeter. And so while, again, we weren't blowing people off the ball up front, it allowed our linemen to have better angles, because the box was smaller, right? The box was empty. And there was a lot of times we see a 4-man box. And so if we got 5 guys to block, like, again, we might not be putting guys in the ground, but we feel like we can at least get a hat on a hat when we were 5 on 4, and our quarterback is reading a guy. So really we feel like we're 6 on 4, and at least would give us angles where even when our linemen get beat, which I have this play in my mind from last year where we played a kid who is a junior. He's coming back. He is a Division I. He's got offers from everywhere in the country. He's going to go wherever he wants as a defensive lineman. We had not one kid in our program that could block him, because this was probably the best defensive lineman high school prospect I've ever coached against. The kid is an absolute stud. We're like, we cannot block you. We know that you are going to beat our guard, who at this point was weighing like 195 pounds. And this kid is all 6'5", 265. He's a dude. But if we send our back in motion, even if you beat him, you're a step behind him, right? Because we're already running past you by the time you get in the backfield. Now, the kids still made plays. But for a quarter, we were able to essentially just kind of run away from him because of our alignment, because we were in empty. Our running back never got caught in the backfield, right? Like he's never 7 yards behind the quarterback. And we get to the mesh and they've just blown up the whole line of scrimmage. And we're taking a 4-yard loss. Now the runners are running at the toes of the quarterback, which is putting them at 3 yards, in the backfield with their momentum going downhill. So yes, we do lose yards. I'm not saying we never lose yards when we run the ball, but instead of losing 6 yards or 5 yards, we're losing 1 yard, half a yard, even when we're getting blown off the ball, because we've got an angle that at least is allowing us to get to close to the line of scrimmage where we're not, absolutely getting hammered in the backfield. The other thing it allowed us to do for our offensive linemen, and again, we all want offensive linemen that can drive a guy 14 yards, put him in the ground, give him the business, and then come back and do it again. That's not what we have. We haven't had that at Auburn High since I've been there. Again, we're an inner city school, low socioeconomic background. We're lucky that we even get to have enough kids to function on a football team. And so doing this allows our linemen to kind of have the freedom of, hey, you don't have to, a win for us on the O-line is getting to the defender's opposite shoulder and just getting in the way, right? Because our back is already in that crease because he is at a full head of steam running in full speed. And that's made life a little bit easier for having underdeveloped linemen or undersized linemen, where we can still be effective in the run game and in the pass game, even though we don't look traditionally up front with 285 pounders across the front. For the last 4 or 5 years, we've been the number 1 or number 2 offense in our league year in, year out. We've been the number 1 or number 2 rushing offense in our league year in, year out. Typically, we're also the number 1 passing offense in the league because we will take what the defense gives us. And if they do collapse in, then it's like, well, we've got numbers out in the perimeter and we're going to throw all sorts of screen game. And we will throw the ball downfield, but we will take every little 5-yard throw that you will give us because that's extended handoffs. And being an empty has allowed us to play a whole lot of mismatch game with that. So I know there's a fear level. I mean, I have so many people that talk to me going, well, you're an empty. We hear it from the stands all the time. Run the football. And it's like, if you guys looked at the stats, we ran 80 plays this game and 40 of them were run plays. And yeah, 40 of them were pass plays too, because we're still playing with tempo. We're still going really fast. But you can't say we don't run the ball because we're lining up and empty. Like we've got some quarterback run game stuff with no runner at all, right? Just quarterback power, with him back there by himself. Every other player, we had a kid who's playing at Montana State right now. He was 6'2", 225 pounds, a high school receiver. And he was a basketball kid, could jump out of the gym. And he was playing X receiver for us. We're like, well, we can't throw him the ball 40 times a game because eventually defenses are like, you can't do that. How do we get him more touches? Outside, he's the X, he's on the numbers, he's way far out there. How do we get him the ball? Well, you flex him off the line, you send him in motion, and you tell him to run between the tackles. And all of a sudden, when he was a junior, this is how he kind of started getting noticed. He's ripping off, averaging 10.2 yards a carry. And again, we're looking around up front going, our guard is smaller than him, our center is smaller than him, our tackles are bigger than him, but the interior of the line is smaller than the kid running the ball. So it's not like we're just blowing people off the ball, but they're getting to someone's shoulder and giving just enough of a crease that the big athlete kid can put his foot in the ground and get in the B gap, and then just taking on a linebacker. Well, a 225 receiver versus a high school linebacker, we're willing to take that battle most of the time. And again, very effective. Luckily, obviously, he was a very good athlete, but we've been able to do that with smaller kids too, because the angle is there. So there's always a lot of trepidation about empty, right? You got to throw the ball a bunch. Again, we do because we're tempo and we get to run a lot of plays. But if you're undersized up front, and maybe you don't have a downhill, kid who's 5'10", 195, 205 that really can break tackles in the backfield, right? When that mesh gets blown up or that handoff gets blown up because your linemen get blown up, you can kind of fight through it to get back to neutral, right? Get back to the line of scrimmage. Consider going empty and seeing, can you incorporate your run game from more of a spread formation? We still run power. We still run counter. We don't just run jet. We do run jet, but we run inside zone, outside zone. So those are our 5 base run plays, and any one of our 5 receivers plus our quarterback can run those plays at any time. So the defense has to account not just for a tailback in the backfield or a quarterback keeping the ball on option. They got to account for all 6 of those ball carriers at any time, whether there's motion, no motion, because we have quarterback run game again without any motion. Kid motions, it could still be a pass because we motion in our passing game. That's the one thing I think you have to do if you're going to go empty, is you can't just motion in the run game. You have to motion in the pass game as well. But it really has unlocked some things for us where we can still be successful offensively, even though we are very, very undersized up front. And it gives our linemen a little bit more belief in themselves, right? They look across the field from them and they go, coach, they're way bigger than us. And it's like, yep, that's very, very true. They are way bigger, but we have to play the game. So what are you going to do? Do we need you to lock on and drive him 10 yards and put him in the ground? No. Can you reach to his outside shoulder? And then can you just wall him off? And if you can do that, our back is past you. Now, is that going to lead to an 80-yard touchdown run? No. Is it going to lead to 3 yards? Yep. And that's what we try to preach with our team is 3.3 yards of play. I know every coach says that, but that includes, our screen game where we're incorporating that as extended handoffs. If we're getting 3.3 yards on first, second, third down, we're either getting a first down or we're going forward on fourth down and we're in good situations. Okay, if you find yourself stuck, undersized lineman, wanting to try something new that really kind of unlocks some things for us, try empty and you can still run the ball just as effectively as you did with a back in the backfield, 2 backs in the backfield. The less amount of people you have in the box, the less amount of people the defense has in the box, and it could be a big benefit. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
That wraps up another episode of Your Call, presented by the Headset app. A big thank you to Coach Aaron Chantler for sharing the insight behind his offensive transformation at Auburn High School. From leveraging empty formations to creating more angles for undersized linemen and turning receivers into versatile threats, his story is a reminder that adaptability and creativity can drive success regardless of your roster. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review, and check back soon for more conversations with the coaches who are redefining the game. And be sure to check out our partner, the Headset app. Whether you're looking to replace your system, expand to get more coaches on the system on game day, or use it in practice, the Headset app provides you the most affordable solution to your game day and practice communications. The link to the Headset app is in the show notes.